Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Israel launches a limited ground incursion into southern Lebanon. Hezbollah retaliates with artillery fire at Israeli troops in Metula near the border. Ishiba Shigeru officially takes over as Japan's Prime Minister, unveils his cabinet as he prepares for a 27th October snap election. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness hold talks, sign 4 MOUs. The Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir votes in the third and last phase of election. 44.08% voter turnout recorded till 1 p.m. local time. And in cricket, India demolishes Bangladesh by 7 wickets in the second test at Kanpur, registers a historic clean sweep in the 2-test series, sets new records. Israel and the Hezbollah appear to be spiraling towards an all-out war that could spread to the wider region after a week of significant escalation in their long-running conflict. After several days of airstrikes against Beirut and across southern Lebanon, Israel began limited, localized and targeted ground raids against Hezbollah on Tuesday. Despite international calls for de-escalation, Israel has vowed to keep fighting the Iran-backed Hezbollah.
Israel has gone on the offensive after almost a year of cross-border hostilities sparked by the conflict in Gaza. It has inflicted huge damage on Hezbollah in recent weeks, killing more than a dozen top commanders, including its head, Hassan Nasrallah. For Israel, Nasrallah's killing is a huge victory. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has warned the battle was not over, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed the Iranian government for plunging the West Asia deeper into war at the cost of its own people.
There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There is nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. I know you don't support the rapists and murderers of Hamas and Hezbollah, but your leaders do. You deserve more. The people of Iran should know Israel stands with you. May we together know a future of prosperity and peace.
Israel last week rejected a proposal by the US and France for a 21-day ceasefire on the Lebanon border to give time for a diplomatic settlement that would allow displaced civilians on both sides to return home. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says any further Israeli operations in Lebanon have to be avoided as world leaders urged against a ground invasion.
The sovereignty of both Israel and Lebanon has to be guaranteed, and any further military intervention would dramatically aggravate the situation, and it has to be avoided.
Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati also called for a ceasefire based on a recent US-French proposal. Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin gave Washington's backing to Israel, dismantling attack infrastructure along the border, and warned of serious consequences for Iran if Tehran directly attacks Israel. While the United Arab Emirates reaffirmed its unwavering position towards the unity of Lebanon, its national sovereignty and its territorial integrity, the operation into Lebanon represents an escalation of the conflict in West Asia between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah that now threatens to involve US and Iran. Bureau Report, DD India.
And RT's Maria Finoshina sent us this report from Haifa in Israel.
Have been multiple signs of a looming ground operation. Israeli tanks were deployed at the border some time ago. New checkpoints appeared all across northern Israel, and military presence was all in all strengthened. Additionally, Israeli troops recently completed several military drills simulating a ground offensive in Lebanon, with the army publicly and openly releasing visuals from the exercises. And during one of the visits to the troops in the north, the IDF's chief of staff basically told the Israeli military that the extensive strikes were part of preparations for a possible invasion, basically confirming it was coming, ground operation was coming. Israel had also earlier called up additional reservists for a mission in the north, not Gaza. So the operation was widely anticipated. Some media earlier reported and have suggested that the operation may aim at establishing a security buffer zone in southern Lebanon. As you remember, Israel maintained its military presence in southern Lebanon from 1982 until its withdrawal in 2000, and there has been speculation about the army's willingness to return. Israel has repeatedly said that it will continue its offensive against Hezbollah until security in the north of Israel is restored and until conditions are created to secure a safe return of tens of thousands of northern evacuees.
All right, shifting focus from one conflict to another. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has ordered the conscription of 133,000 new servicemen in Russia's autumn draft. As per a Kremlin decree published on Monday, Moscow will carry out the draft of citizens aged 18 to 30 years who are not in the reserve and are subject to conscription in accordance with the federal law. The head of Russia's conscription office, Vice Admiral Vladimir Simlyansky, said the terms for the conscript remain the same, that is, a 12-month service in military units. The draft will start on 1st October and last until the end of the year. In September, Putin ordered the Russian army to be increased by 180,000 troops to 1.5 million active servicemen. Meanwhile, at least 5 people have been killed in a Russian strike on the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson on Tuesday. Ukraine downed 29 out of 32 Russian drones in the overnight strike over parts of central, southern and northeastern Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a video address in which he defined the frontline situation as quote-unquote very, very difficult.
Reports in each of our frontline areas, our further capabilities and our specific tasks. The situation is very, very difficult. Everything that can be done this autumn, everything we can achieve, we must achieve. And it depends on everyone in the Ukrainian team.
All right, moving on. U.S. vice presidential candidates Tim Walz and J.D. Vance campaigned on Monday ahead of their debate. The 90-minute debate, to be hosted by CBS News, will take place in New York City at 0100 GMT, that is 6:30 in the morning in India, on Wednesday.
Debate our differences. Don't try to get your...
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
The vice presidential debate is pepping up excitement in the U.S. like perhaps no other so far.
Well, thank you.
It's an open question whether debates, even at the presidential level, move the needle. But this being called a very, very close race, even a small influence on the fence-sitters can make a huge difference to the fortunes. So this VP debate on CBS network has all it takes to make it a spicy treat for the audience. When Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz collide in a vice presidential debate, both will seek to fill in the basic outlines that the American public has seen of them so far. And the contrast between the candidates couldn't be more defined. J.D. Vance is a best-selling author who coined the term childless cat ladies to disparage Democrats and made up a wild allegation about immigrants eating pets. Tim Walz, on the other hand, is a folksy former high school football coach who has called his Republican opponents weird, a label that quickly stuck. Both are white men from the Midwest who claim to understand what Americans in the heartland really want, but are sharply divided over policy. The debate will give both men the opportunity to make persuasive closing arguments on behalf of their campaigns just as early voting ramps up across the country. Typically, a vice presidential debate is viewed as the undercard, a clash largely overlooked by the voters. But Walz and Vance's barbs have attracted outsized attention, and voters might be more interested than usual to see them go head-to-head on October 1st in their only scheduled debate before the November 5th election. Bureau Report, DD India.
Japan's parliament has voted to confirm newly elected ruling party leader Ishiba Shigeru as the country's new prime minister. Ishiba was chosen as the governing Liberal Democratic Party's leader on Friday to replace Kishida Fumio, who announced in August that he would resign at the end of his 3-year term. Ishiba's Liberal Democratic Party got majority in the parliament in a close-fought election last week. A former chief cabinet secretary, Kato Katsunobu, is tipped to become finance minister, while Nakatani Gen will take defense and Iwaya Takeshi foreign affairs. The emperor formally appointed Ishiba and his cabinet in a ceremony at Tokyo's Imperial Palace. Ishiba was expected to hold a press conference. He will now prepare for a 27th October snap parliamentary election. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita, is in Mexico to represent India at the presidential swearing-in ceremony of Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum. In a post on X, the minister said that he was honored to be a part of this historic moment and looked forward to advancing India's strong and dynamic relations with Mexico. So leaders from Latin America and the Caribbean landed in Mexico to attend the inauguration of President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum to be held on Tuesday. The leaders of Brazil, Cuba, Honduras, Chile, Colombia and Guatemala have all arrived for the event. Claudia Sheinbaum won a landslide victory to become Mexico's first woman president. Right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. At least 25 people are feared dead in Thailand after a school bus burst into flames on Tuesday. Firefighters are working to control the flames. The bus was carrying 44 people, including students and teachers, on a day-long excursion. Japanese manufacturers' business sentiment remains steady in the 3 months leading up to September. This stability suggests that the economy is continuing to recover even in the face of global growth challenges. In a major power show, South Korea displayed its most powerful ballistic missile and other arms and weapons during its Armed Forces Day ceremony on Tuesday. South Korean president also sent a warning to North Korea over the recent disclosure of its uranium enrichment facility and tested missiles. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Flood wreaks havoc in Nepal, claims at least 223 lives. Hurricane Helene leaves a trail of destruction in the US. And WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange makes his first public appearance since being freed from a British jail. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Hurricane Helene has claimed at least 130 lives in the US. The numbers are likely to increase. The devastating storm has left a trail of destruction and political acquisitions, as well as a presidential election looms large.
Devastating Hurricane Helene has left a trail of destruction in its wake in at least 5 southeastern states of the U.S. Now, as authorities grapple with a huge task of relief, rescue and rehabilitation, the hurricane has kicked up a political storm. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump made the relief ops an election issue on Sunday when he said that U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris should have been in Washington. Trump accused Biden at a rally in Pennsylvania on Sunday of sleeping instead of dealing with the disaster and said Harris was at fundraisers with the radical left lunatic donors. Biden shot back on Monday. In an Oval Office briefing, he retorted angrily to Trump's allegations.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spent time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. We are.
The race is now to visit the affected areas. In an Oval Office briefing, Biden said he would visit the North Carolina on Wednesday.
Well, I'm going to North Carolina on Wednesday, planned now. We're going to be landing in Raleigh for a briefing with the Emergency Operations Center, and I'll then do an aerial tour of Asheville.
U.S. Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris cut short a campaign trip to Nevada to take part in briefings in Washington on response efforts to Hurricane Helene.
I plan to be on the ground as soon as possible, but as soon as possible without disrupting any emergency response operations, because that must be the highest priority in the first order of business.
Trump visited Valdosta, Georgia on Monday, where major flooding from the storm occurred. Trump said he spoke to billionaire Elon Musk about getting Starlink internet access to areas affected by Hurricane Helene. Georgia and North Carolina are both key states in the tight election being held in just 5 weeks' time. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, floods and landslides across Asia have killed more than 200 people and caused destruction in the region. On the other hand, the U.S. is dealing with wildfires that have consumed hectares of land and resulted in mass evacuations. With uncertain climatic conditions around the globe, there's a need to address it as well.
The world is facing the adverse effects of climate change like never before as extreme weather events continue to affect normal life across continents. Several regions in Asia are adversely impacted by floods and landslides that continue to upend normal life. India's eastern state of Bihar is dealing with devastating flood. Hundreds of villages have been inundated, affecting more than 3.5 lakh people. State and National Disaster Response Force is engaged in relief operations. Trapped residents are provided with dry food packets. The Disaster Management Department also conducted an aerial survey of the flood-affected area. In neighboring Nepal, devastating floods have wreaked havoc and killed at least 223 people. Rescue efforts have intensified. Most roads and highways in the capital, Kathmandu, remain blocked due to landslides. Prime Minister KP Oli called for an emergency meeting to address the crisis. 1 billion rupees have been allocated to deal with the situation. Schools have been shut and a holiday is declared, advising people to stay at home as Taiwan braces for landfall of super typhoon Krathon. More than 7,700 people have been evacuated from vulnerable areas as a precautionary measure. Flights have been cancelled and 40,000 troops are on standby to bolster rescue efforts. Residents made barriers around their homes using sandbags to protect them from the impact of high tides. Prathon, labeled as Category 3 hurricane, is expected to make landfall on Wednesday. Devastating wildfires have engulfed America's Bolivia. President Luis Arce officially declared it as a national disaster on Monday. The government announced the measure, citing severe air pollution and a sanitary danger due to the fires. More than 7 million hectares of forest has been consumed and the region is facing an environmental crisis.
Y hemos aprobado este decreto número, ministra.
We have approved this decree 5253, which is the declaration of national disasters, so that we can activate everything possible to combat these fires, which have been worrying us for the last 3 months, in which we have been fighting them.
Para poder enfrentar.
In the US, California has ordered evacuation after blaze flared up over the weekend. The inferno has consumed around 43,000 acres of land. Globally, nations are working together to take measures to reduce global warming as extreme weather events are expected to worsen over the years. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, Shweta Singh joins us from Kathmandu and Salman Haider joins us from Patna for more. Shweta, the death toll is only climbing up. How is Nepal coping with the flood and its aftermath?
Amish, you see here 1 billion NPR have been released by Finance Ministry to cope up with present disaster condition. Prime Minister had yesterday evening called emergency meeting, and within an hour he has asked all the media houses to meet him in person so that the message that he wants to convey to the people may be spread, that not only government but civil societies and residents should come forward on humanitarian ground to support co-citizens. So it is a tough time for Nepal, and you see road department have deployed excavators around to clear all the road blockages. But because there are severe road blockages across 4 provinces, Lumbini, Madhya Pradesh, Bagmati, Gandaki and Koshi, 5 provinces I would say. And in this condition, all the bridges, 16 major bridges are completely destroyed. It is very difficult to recreate all the roads at this point of time with already so much of debris over the roads. And people half being deployed to clear road, half people deployed to provide rehabilitation and support. So it is a tough time. And I would say the relief operation from Ministry of Water Supply is also there, that it started distributing water purification kit to each and every household, because there are chances of waterborne diseases now as the flood impact is going down, but the chance of diseases is very high. So ministry is at every ministry, health ministry, road construction ministry, water supply ministry, everyone is involved. Nepal Army, police, yet they are trying to find the missing people. 28 people are yet missing in spite of last 3-4 days effort of rescuing people. So this ongoing process, I think it will take a couple of more days to rescue people, because when you're trapped in a swamp or in a water body, it's very difficult to evacuate yourself all on yourself. You need some support as aerial support. Helicopters are required to pull you out from that swamp. So it's a bit difficult here right now.
Difficult and a tough time indeed for Nepal, as Shweta is reporting there from Kathmandu. Let me bring in Salman Haider. Salman, how many districts in Bihar are affected, and the situation remain still very critical?
Yes, Ramesh, as I said earlier, there are in total 13 districts, all from northern part of Bihar. They are very badly affected. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister today made an aerial survey to assess the devastation situation in the flood-affected areas. And the NDMA and the Department of Natural Disaster has also made a survey yesterday. More barrages, rather embankments, have breached, engulfing more villages. In Darbhanga, almost 4 blocks and 2 dozen villages are inundated right now. and over 500,000 population is affected. So the situation is still grim, but the outflow of water from the barrages, two major barrages are there, Kosi and Valmiki Nagar barrage. The outflow has gone down from 6.5 lakhs to 1.5 lakhs this morning, to 6 this morning. So the situation is likely to improve by tomorrow. But right now, a large number of the population has been rendered homeless, and now they are living over the embankments, which are their life is right now very vulnerable. Yes, Ramesh.
All right, we'll leave it there. Salman Haider in Patna and Shweta Singh in Kathmandu. Thank you. Appreciate it. In other news, WikiLeaks' founder Julian Assange has made his first public appearance since being freed from a British jail. Assange returned to Australia in June after a deal was struck for his release, which saw him plead guilty to violating the US espionage law, ending a 14-year British legal odyssey. He made a public statement for the first time after giving evidence to the Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe in Strasbourg on Tuesday. While making his first public statement, Assange said that journalism is not a crime but a pillar of free and informed society, adding that he pleaded guilty to journalism. Former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte takes over as NATO chief on Tuesday. At a ceremony at NATO headquarters in Brussels, Jens Stoltenberg handed over the gavel to the new NATO Secretary General Rutte. He is charged with holding the Western military alliance together with the Russia-Ukraine conflict at a critical moment and a pivotal US presidential election approaching. NATO officials and diplomats expect Rutte to maintain Stoltenberg's priorities at the 32-member alliance, rallying support for Ukraine, pushing NATO countries to spend more on defense and keeping the US engaged in European security. Mark Rutte stepped down as Dutch Premier this year after a record 14 years in the job. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds talks with visiting Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And doctors in the eastern Indian state of West Bengal have resumed their full strike. They complain that the judiciary is not making adequate efforts to restore justice after the rape and murder of a trainee doctor. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Israel launches a limited ground incursion into southern Lebanon. Hezbollah retaliates with artillery fire at Israeli troops in Metula near the border. Ishiba Shigeru officially takes over as Japan's Prime Minister, unveils his cabinet as he prepares for a 27th October snap election. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness hold talks, sign 4 MOUs. The Indian Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir votes in the third and last phase of election. 44.08% voter turnout recorded till 1 p.m. local time. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met his Jamaican counterpart Dr. Andrew Holness at New Delhi's Hyderabad House on Tuesday. This is his first visit to India and also the first ever bilateral visit of a Prime Minister of Jamaica to India. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Holness met several times on the sidelines of multilateral meetings. The Jamaican PM also held delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday. The leaders discussed ways to further strengthen ties and enhance cooperation in trade, investment, renewable energy, digital transformation, development partnership, education, capacity building, and people-to-people connect. Regional and global issues also came up for discussion. 4 memoranda of understanding was inked between the two countries, focusing on areas such as technology, education, culture, and trade. The MOUs signed include those on cooperation on sharing of DPI in financial inclusion, e-payments, cultural exchange, and cooperation in sports. After the MOUs were exchanged in the presence of the two leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India has always been a trustworthy and committed development partner for Jamaica.
4 C's हमारे संबंधों को अंकित करते हैं। कल्चर, क्रिकेट, कॉमनवेल्थ और कैरिकॉम। आज की बैठक में हमने सभी क्षेत्रों में अपना सहयोग सुदृढ़ करने पर विचार किया और कई नए इनिशिएटिव्स की पहचान की। भारत और जमैका के बीच व्यापार और निवेश में वृद्धि हो रही है। जमैका की विकास यात्रा में भारत सदैव एक विश्वसनीय और प्रतिबद्ध डेवलपमेंट पार्टनर रहा है। इस दिशा में हमारे सभी प्रयास जमैका के लोगों की आवश्यकताओं पर आधारित रहे हैं। आईटेक तथा आईसीसीआर स्कॉलरशिप के माध्यम से हमने जमैका के लोगों के स्किल डेवलपमेंट और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में योगदान दिया है।
The Jamaican PM expressed gratitude to India for its support during difficult times.
Having had very fruitful talks with Prime Minister Modi, I can say with confidence that today heralds a new phase in Jamaica-India bilateral relations. I must convey on behalf of the government and people of Jamaica our sincere gratitude to the government and people of India for the tremendous support provided to us during our time of need. As part of your vaccine friendship scheme, we are immensely grateful that we could count on India as a true friend and partner.
Earlier, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness offered floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat in New Delhi. Prime Minister Holness and renowned cricketer Chris Gayle also planted saplings at Rajghat. All right, joining me is my colleague Amrit Pal Singh, who is in New Delhi. Amrit, what did the two Prime Ministers have to say after their talks?
Well, Prime Minister Modi began by calling Prime Minister Holness a friend of India and a long-standing friend of India. And as you said, that the two leaders have met several times at multilateral fora, though this is Prime Minister Holness' first visit to India, or even any Prime Minister of Jamaica's first bilateral visit to India. So he called India and Jamaica reliable partners. He said that this relationship stands on the pillars of 4 C's, culture, cricket, Commonwealth, health and CARICOM, and then he expressed that in various fields of IT, of skill development, providing scholarships, education, health, tourism, etc., sports cooperation and developmental partnership, also financial transactions, e-payments, etc. India wishes to share its DPI with Jamaica. So essentially putting the stress on how these two countries of the global south will cooperate to see the development of not just Jamaica but the larger CARICOM or the Caribbean also takes place, and he said that that is why this visit is important. The Jamaican Prime Minister on his part thanked India, was grateful to India for the developmental partnership between the two, for the scholarships that India provides, the vaccines under the Vaccine Maitri program that India provided them with during COVID, and he said we share views on reform of multilateral institutions like the Security Council and see a greater role for countries like India. So, this is what the two prime ministers had to say after their over, 1.5 hour long talks. Ramesh.
Also, Amrit, very quickly, if you will, tell us more about the agreement signed between India and Jamaica.
Okay, Ramesh, there were 4 agreements signed between India and Jamaica. One on sharing of digital public infrastructure for financial inclusion. The other was regarding e-payments. The third was on cultural cooperation between the two sides over the next 5 years, and also an MOU for sports cooperation, building sports infrastructure and sharing Indian experiences of sports training, etc. With Jamaica.
Amrit, thank you. Amrit Pal Singh reporting there on India-Jamaica talks that took place earlier in New Delhi. All right, moving on. Voting is underway for the third and last phase of assembly elections in India's Jammu and Kashmir. The Union Territory recorded a 44.08% voter turnout till 1 p.m. local time. Arrangements have been made to ensure terror-free and peaceful polling. More than 39.1 lakh voters are expected to exercise their franchise at 5,060 polling stations, covering 40 assembly seats in Jammu, Udhampur, Samba and Kathua in the Jammu region, and Baramulla, Bandipora and Kupwara in North Kashmir.
I live in Batidi and my polling station is in Batidi. It's a high school. I have cast my vote in the morning. Just now I am coming from there. The whole of the polling staff is very helpful, and I was the second person to cast vote on my polling station, and I am satisfied with all the arrangements. I appeal to everybody that they should come and cast their vote for their candidates so that we are a participant to the democratic process of it.
The voter turnout was robust in the earlier phases, with 61.38% participation in the first phase on 18th September and 57.31% in the second phase on 26th of September. Votes will be counted on the 8th of October. All right, joining me is my colleague Dibyendu Mondal, who is in Gulmarg. Dibyendu, how's the polling coming along?
Well, Ramesh, that's right. The polling so far have been, the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir has been recorded at about 44%. But where I am currently, it is the Gulmarg Assembly constituency here in North Kashmir region, which has recorded at about 36% voting so far. But the district which this constituency falls, this is known as the Baramulla district in the northern part of the Kashmir region, where approximately 36.60% of voter turnout have been recorded till about 1 p.m. this afternoon. And it also has about 8 assembly constituencies where the highest number of vote percentage so far has been in the Uri Lok Sabha constituency, which recorded about 41.49% of voting till about 1 p.m. The number is likely to go up later in the evening. Why? Because there are a lot of farming community that resides in the Baramulla district, which has, as I said, about 8 Vidhan Sabha constituencies or the assembly constituencies, and the people have gone to their fields. They'll come back and cast their vote in the evening, which is after about 3:30 to 4 p.m. After which the 2-hour window from 4 to 6, it is likely to see that the voting percentage in this particular region would go up after about 4 in the evening. But having said this, since morning we have been witnessing queues in multiple polling stations across the multiple assembly constituencies in the Baramulla district, where men and women alike have been queuing up to cast their vote. Here at this particular polling station where I am currently, this place is called Kunzer, which is part of the Gulmarg Vidhan Sabha, and if you can see, people are coming in slowly because it's afternoon time. It's more of a village setup, so of course people do take rest in the afternoon. Many people in the morning have casted their vote. I was there in a couple of polling stations in the morning. There were long queues. We had sent some footages as well. There were long queues in almost all the polling stations that we visited in the morning. And similar scenes are likely to be witnessed, is what the local polling officers here tell me, that in the evening there could be another, the spree of rush in the polling stations, as I said, because, these people will come back and then cast their vote. Yes, Ramesh.
Dibyendu, thank you very much. Dibyendu Mondal reporting there from Gulmarg in Jammu and Kashmir. Right, moving on, senior citizens are the backbone of our society, shouldering countless responsibilities while passing down invaluable wisdom and rich traditions to the younger generation. To honor their vital role, we celebrate the International Day of Older Persons on 1st October every year. This special occasion appreciates and supports the incredible legacy they create. DD India's Anil Thomas has more.
The International Day of Older Persons is an opportunity to showcase the contributions of senior citizens and to promote their welfare. Union Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Dr. Virendra Kumar, presided over as the chief guest at the International Day of Older Persons at the Prasar Bharati Air Force School. Minister of State B.L. Arma was the guest of honor on the occasion.
दुनिया के बाकी देशों के लिए तो 365 दिन में एक दिन मतलब अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वृद्धजन दिवस मनाया जाता है, लेकिन हमारी तो संस्कृति में, संस्कारों में कि अपने परिवार के बुजुर्गों को, अपने परिवार के माता पिता को रोज़ सम्मान देने का संस्कृति हमारी रही है. आने वाले समय में देश में बाकी स्कूलों में भी इसको प्रारंभ करने के, ताकि इस दिवस के अवसर पर बच्चे अपने दादा दादी नाना नानी के साथ में विद्यालय में आए, उनके लिए उनके सम्मान में कार्यक्रमों का आयोजन किया जाए.
A pledge and a walkathon was also organized to show respect to the elderly population, which is a valuable asset to any society. Population aging is an irreversible global trend. In 2021, 1 in 10 people worldwide were age 65 and above. In 2050, this age group is projected to account for 1 in 6 people globally.
This initiative of taking the children and the grandparents along, it is for them to understand, the children to understand the importance of the grand people, that whatever today what we are, it is because of the values taken from the grandparents. And this is how, like the Honorable Minister said, it's not that one day we do it, it is that every day we need to do it.
According to macro trends, the life expectancy in India in 2024 is projected to be 70.62 years, which is a 0.29% increase from 2023. Population aging is poised to become one of the most noteworthy social revolutions of the 21st century.
Increasingly, our joint family system is breaking down to nuclear family system. We have seen that children who are not surrounded by the grandparents, they lack a feeling of security and comfort. Therefore, it is very important to let children know about, let the families understand the value of this.
The elderly population aging is a natural process that brings both opportunities and challenges. According to the 2011 census, India is home to 104 million individuals aged 60 years and above, accounting for 8.6%, which has risen to 149 million and constitute close to over 10% of our population. This trend is likely to double by 2050. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
So do make time for grandparents and let them know that you appreciate them. Right, take a look at what else is making news in India. Air Chief Marshal AP Singh took over as Chief of the Air Staff at a ceremony at Air Headquarters in New Delhi on Monday. In his address, Air Chief Marshal Singh said he is honoured and privileged to have been entrusted with the responsibility of leading the Indian Air Force. He took over from Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary. Doctors in the state of West Bengal have resumed full strike on Tuesday over the brutal rape and murder of a trainee doctor in Kolkata. This after the Junior Doctors Forum conducted a general body meeting and called for a renewed cease work and issued a 10-point demand. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Dock workers go on strike at ports in the US. It marks the first such shutdown in almost 50 years. And interesting clashes lined up for day 2 of the UEFA Champions League.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A port strike on the US East Coast and Gulf of Mexico has begun on Tuesday. The strike is expected to drag on for the world's largest economy just ahead of the November presidential election. Dock workers at 14 large US ports began walking off the job after last-minute negotiations yielded no new labor contract. The talks have reached an impasse. The strike will block everything from food to automobile shipments across dozens of ports from Maine to Texas. Analysts warn that it will cost the economy billions of dollars a day, threaten jobs and stoke inflation. This is International Longshoremen's Association's first strike since 1977. Looking at the economic news of the past few weeks, things are not going well in Germany. Trouble in the auto sector, the country's steel business, and just last week, economists revised their outlook for the country downward. But German shares are doing well, with the country's blue chip index trading near record highs. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and he joins us from Berlin. Lars, what's going on here?
Thanks for having me. Yes, it's a very interesting question indeed. The DAX in Frankfurt has been trading upwards for almost a year now and is scratching the 20,000 points mark. It's hit several all-time highs along the way, and it does look like investors can celebrate that big number soon, 20,000 points. But yes, as you point out, why are shares going so high if many of the companies aren't doing well at all? The answer is rather frustrating. It seems that for most German companies, their home market isn't all that important anymore. Looking at the 40 companies that make up that blue chip index, just around 80% of their combined revenues comes from business outside Germany, with business at home basically making up only a fifth of the entire thing. Heidelberg Cement is a good example to have a closer look at. The company makes 9% of its business at home, so higher energy prices in Germany are a problem here, but they don't really apply to the majority of the company's business. Or look at chemical giant BASF. Yes, high energy costs have led the company to shut some plants in Germany, but they're growing in Asia and in America, and that more than makes up for the dire situation at home.
So are strong markets still a reaction to the companies doing well altogether?
Yes and no. On the one hand, yes, these companies that aren't looking all that great in Germany are doing pretty well on a global level. But there's other factors, of course, that are dominating markets as well. Look at the central banks. Both the ECB and the Fed in the United States have started lowering interest rates. And that means that any company's cost, their loans, their investments can be financed cheaper. And that, of course, also pushes profitability and, by extension, dividends. And now there's been a major stimulus package in China. So if that does to the Chinese economy what it's supposed to do, then we'll see the world's second largest economy expand once again after years in the doldrums. If that happens, of course, German companies stand to profit too.
All right, Lars, thank you. Lars Halter reporting there from Berlin. All right, now to all the news in the world of sport with my colleague Deepika. Deepika, tell us more about India's win over Bangladesh.
It's been a spectacular and historic victory decked with many records because India's superb display of teamwork stole the show at Kanpur's Green Park Stadium as India achieved clean sweep victory against Bangladesh in two-match test series. In the second test, India won by 7 wickets at Kanpur's Green Park Stadium, and in the process, India created many records as well. Ravichandran Ashwin has been awarded Man of the Series award. Here's a report.
Team India rode on the pitches of Kanpur, recording a clean sweep victory against Bangladesh in two-match test series. Spin duo of Ravichandran Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja, along with pacer Jasprit Bumrah, worked their magic as India dismissed Bangladesh in two-match test series on day 5. In the process, India created many records as well. Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 72 runs from 51 balls in an innings, started with 12 fours and 2 sixes, totaling to 1,166 runs in the World Test Championship 2023-25 cycle, which is now the highest by an Indian and the second highest behind Joe Root in the cycle. Not only this, Rohit Sharma also became the first opener to hit sixes of the first 2 balls in Test innings and the 4th overall. If you talk about India, India smashed the record for fastest team 100 and fastest team double 100 in Test cricket as well. Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill powered the team to the fastest team 100 in Test cricket's history. With this, India also achieved the score in just 10.1 overs, breaking their own world record from 2023, where they reached 112.2 overs against West Indies in Port of Spain. Let's talk about King Kohli also, who etched his name deeper into the annals of cricket history by becoming the fastest player to score 27,000 runs in international cricket. India's aggressive batting continued as Virat Kohli scored 47 of 35 balls and KL Rahul added 68 of 43, propelling the team to another record. With this performance, India shattered the record for the fastest team score of 200 in Test cricket, achieving the milestone in just 24.2 overs. India's star all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja also became the second fastest player in Test cricket to achieve the double milestone of 3,000 runs and 300 wickets. A test series that saw a lot of interruption due to bad light followed by heavy rains could not dampen the spirits of both the sides, as Team India not only got a chance to prove their prowess in all formats of cricket including the tests. On the other hand, Bangladesh too put up a decent performance but eventually went down to the host on gripping day 5 of the Kanpur test. Sports Test, DD India.
On to tennis now. Top-ranked Yannick Sinner defies the controversy surrounding his doping case to join Carlos Alcaraz and Daniel Medvedev in the China Open semi-finals. The defending champion defeated Jiri Lehecka by 6-2, 7-6 for his 14th victory in a row. The World Anti-Doping Agency sought a ban of up to 2 years after Sinner twice tested positive for a banned substance in the month of March this year. The International Tennis Integrity Agency cleared the Italian of wrongdoing in the month of August and allowed him to continue playing. The world number 1 will face Bu in the semi-finals in Beijing on Tuesday. In soccer, a Champions League encounter, Arsenal will take on Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday night at the Emirates. Arsenal scored 2 goals in injury time to beat Leicester City by 4-2 in Premier League on Saturday, following on from their fighting performance in a 2-2 draw with 10 men against Manchester City the previous week. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta praised the character of his players ahead of their Champions League clash against PSG. Arteta said this was the sort of character that his team will need if they are to progress in this year's Champions League. In chess, Turkish Grandmaster Yagizkan Erdogmaz created history as he became the youngest player to record a rating of 2600 at just the age of 13. Just 4 months back, Erdogmaz was in the news for breaking Judith Polgar's record from 1989 that saw him become the highest rated player in the history before 13. At the moment, Erdogmaz is the youngest Grandmaster in the world and the 4th youngest in the history to achieve this distinguished title. He's played on board for Turkey in the recently held 45th Chess Olympiad in Budapest, scoring 8 for 11 points, a rating performance of 2,636. This performance took his ratings to 2,601 in FIDE's October list. So those were the top highlights of the hour from the world of sports. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepika. Now, the 8th edition of joint military drill between India and Kazakhstan began in the northern state of Uttarakhand on Monday. The joint exercise focuses on operations in the semi-urban and mountainous terrain. The annual exercise has been alternately organized between the two countries. The exercise will culminate on 13th October. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.